Hello everyone, my name is Angelo. I'm going to talk about web hosting and hosting in the cloud. That's a picture of a server. So you could just have one of those and run a web page off of it. That's the most basic way to do it, but usually you'll just want to buy someone else's server space. You pay fixed resources. Usually in the traditional model, you pay a fixed fee, you get a fixed amount of space and memory. There's some disadvantages like disadvantages like a single point of failure. It's shared. If it's shared, you have to share resources with other people on the same server. They might hog the resources and slow yours down. So there's a hypervisor which manages the different users on that same server. Often they're on the LAMP stack, which means Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. And so like something like this one, and you can go in and manage your account. You can use FTP usually to update it. You might manage your database through a GUI like this, where you can delete stuff. You can run queries. But then there's cloud hosting. You only pay for what you use. You can scale quickly. It's a distributed infrastructure, so there's not a single point of failure. If one server somewhere goes down, you're probably on many others. And if someone is somewhere else in the world, they're probably close to one of your servers, so it might be faster. Then on the cloud, there are these services called platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, backend as a service, and they're all taking advantage of the cloud in a slightly different way. The infrastructure as a service is quite basic. They don't do as much for you as a platform as a service. So when you do a platform as a service, it makes it a lot easier to change how many resources you want. Like this one, you would just drag to buy some more. And then if you want to add on some database or Redis or Mongo, or there's email stuff at the bottom. It's just often it's one-click install. They make it really easy. And then that is a picture from Ren and Stimpy, which perfectly captures the concept of the platform as a service, because that was actually, that title there was the slogan of the first platform as a service provider, which shaving yaks apparently means all the little things you have to do to accomplish some tasks that aren't the main task. So if you want to create your website, you have to go and requisition a server, and you have to set it up and install the stuff, and then finally you can start to write the code and work on the website. But when you use the platform as a service, you can skip all that. There are some concerns. Reliability is one. How do you know that this external company is going to stay up? Just on Sunday, Amazon Web Services went down. So Heroku went down because they're running through that. And we weren't able to push to Heroku or look at the logs that day. But Netflix, for example, was down for a while because they use Amazon Web Services. But they came back up quickly because they have adjusted. They're ready for certain regional servers to fail. So they've got backups all around the world. And they even have something called a chaos monkey, which goes around and purposely causes servers to fail, and then they can test and see if they're ready for it. Security is another concern. How do you know they're going to make sure no one can get at your data? It's out there on the cloud. It's not just sitting in a server in your closet. Maybe the counterpoint would be that instead of having to hire security experts yourself, you've got a big company like Heroku who has the best security experts in the world. And then there's regulatory concerns. Maybe government or certain other businesses have to keep their information in the country, and when it's on the cloud, you don't really know where it is. Then there's backend as a service. They completely abstract the backend away, so you don't have to deal with databases at all. Firebase for example, just uses JSON. As you can see here, they just save to the database with a simple front-end command, and then they can retrieve it later. They also handle authentication like that. And so Google App Engine is another example of a platform as a service. They support Python, Java, PHP, and Go, but you can use any language with something that's more like an infrastructure as a service. So you could install Node on there if you wanted to. And so they got a little app also. You can use the console if you want, but you can also just deploy like that, and it will run it, and it just takes like 20 seconds maybe to deploy. And then they have their own proprietary backend software. It's something like Mongo, but it's a NoSQL. They just call it Google Data Store, but you can use SQL also. And then they charge you if you go over certain limits. So there's a free quota, which if you wanted to put out a hobby website, you probably wouldn't exceed. I have never exceeded, even for websites which we've used every day, even when I had to go make multiple phone calls and wait multiple months for a finance department to send a $50 credit card, a prepaid credit card, and then it ends up just costing nothing, because if you see $50,000 write operations, that's a lot for one day. Deployments, 10,000 deployments per day. I'm not sure why you would do that. So when you set up your Google App Engine app, you have a .yaml file, which has some routing. You load the libraries, you tell it what programming language you're using, and YAML stands for yet another markup language. And then inside, you can do more routing, and they've got their own framework called Web App 2, and so you can make JavaScript requests to those bottom routes, or you can save to the database. That's what it's doing in that function there. It's saving to the Google Data Store. And that is the end of the presentation. Any questions? Sean?
Did you make accounts on all these places just so that you could see what, or did you already have accounts? Or?
Yeah, I have accounts at several of them. I've used Google App Engine before. I've tried OpenShift is one that's made by Red Hat. I had the AppFlog account, which I've used. What do you like best so far? I like Google App Engine because it was really easy to get the free account. It's easy to set up. It was my favorite, I think. It's too bad they don't run Node on the platform as a service. Yeah. Doug?
It's only vaguely related, but you said, so the M in the LAMP stack stands for MySQL, and the M in the main stack stands for Mongoose.
Yeah.
That's pretty confusing.
I suppose it could be, but what are you going to do? People start with them. Anuri?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the LAMP abbreviation, the L stands for Linux. What does that mean?
I think it's usually Debian Linux. It's just the server's running on Linux. Most servers run on Linux.
Except like we use Linux, right? That's there, they put it in our.
Well, I'm not sure why they include the operating system in that one, but not in mean. Anyone else? All right. All right, we're good then.